Cậu thấy thế nào? Được.
The first light of dawn crept over the rolling hills, painting the countryside in soft golden hues as Diep, a determined young woman with a shadowed past, stepped into her sprawling gourd patch. The air was thick with the earthy scent of soil and the sweet fragrance of ripening vines, while the distant chatter of villagers preparing for the day mingled with the hum of bees. Dressed in a simple green shirt and a wide-brimmed hat, Diep moved with practiced grace, her hands slicing through the thick stems of plump gourds, each fruit tumbling into her woven basket with a satisfying thud. Sweat beaded on her forehead as she worked, the weight of her labor a testament to her resilience. Pausing to catch her breath, she called out to a nearby tea vendor, "Ko-oi, another iced lemon tea, please." The vendor, a cheerful woman with a weathered face, nodded and prepared the drink, handing it over with a smile. Diep sipped gratefully, the cool tang refreshing her as she surveyed her harvest. Moments later, Trung, a man with a conflicted heart and a crisp white shirt, approached the patch, his footsteps crunching on the dry path. "You're here," he said, settling onto a wooden stool nearby. "Have you ordered yet?" Diep shook her head, her eyes narrowing with suspicion. "Not yet. Last time you talked about partnering with me. How would that work? Have you really thought it through?" Trung hesitated, his gaze dropping to the ground as he wrestled with his decision. "I'm sure about this. It's not betrayal. It's about protecting my love. James has caused Diep too much pain. I can't stand by and watch it continue." Diep leaned closer, her voice edged with doubt. "So you'd turn against a friend you've known for years?" Trung's jaw tightened, his hands clenching. "He's had countless chances, but he keeps hurting her. If he truly loved Diep, he'd have married her by now instead of playing with her heart." The vendor returned with another tea, and Diep took it, her mind racing as she processed Trung's words. "You know James that well?" she asked, her tone probing. Trung nodded grimly, his voice low. Years of friendship reveal his true colors. Love without commitment is just a game to him. Look at how long they've been together without a wedding. Diep set the glass down, her resolve hardening as the weight of his argument sank in. "All right, I'll partner with you. What's your plan?" Trung's face softened with a faint smile. "We'll take it slow, build on what we have and move forward carefully." As they spoke, Diep glanced at her overflowing basket. "I'm heading back to harvest more today. Do you have gourds like these where you live?" Trung shook his head, intrigued. Not really. They're both food and medicine here, aren't they? Diep nodded, lifting a gourd to show him. Exactly. And this batch should bring a decent price at the market later. Their conversation deepened as a young boy from the village wandered over, his eyes wide with curiosity. "Chi, are you harvesting?" he asked, peering into her basket. Diep smiled warmly. "Yes, this should be enough to sell soon." The boy grinned and scampered off while Trung watched, his thoughts drifting to the stakes ahead. In the distance, villagers gathered around a table, sharing stories and laughter, oblivious to the tension brewing between Diep and Trung. The air grew thick with unspoken consequences. Love, loyalty, and a brewing conflict that threatened to unravel their fragile alliance. Diep hoisted her basket onto her shoulder, the weight a symbol of her strength, while Trung's decision to side with her hinted at a storm gathering on the horizon, one that would test their resolve and reshape their futures. The midday sun hung high, its relentless heat shimmering over a lively market where Diep's modest stall stood as a vibrant hub of activity. The air buzzed with the chaotic symphony of vendors calling out prices, children laughing as they darted between stalls, and the rich aromas of grilled skewers, steaming rice noodle soups, and fresh herbs mingling in the breeze. Diep, her face shaded by a wide-brimmed hat, meticulously arranged her freshly harvested gourds in neat rows, their glossy green skins catching the sunlight and drawing the eyes of passers-by. A steady stream of customers approached, elderly women with warm smiles haggling for a better price, young mothers clutching woven baskets to stock up for their families, and street vendors eager to replenish their carts for the day's sales. 5,000 a kilo, Chi, Diep said to a woman in a floral dress, weighing out a bundle of gourds with practiced efficiency. The woman handed over 10,000 dong, her eyes crinkling with approval. "So fresh. Perfect for tonight's soup." "Tangs, Zhao?" Diep pocketed the money, her fingers brushing against the growing stack of coins in her apron, each sale a small victory in her journey of resilience. Another customer, a burly man with a straw hat, called out, "Kowoi 3 kilos for me." Diep nodded, quickly bagging the gourds. 15,000 Chu. "Thank you." The market's energy pulsed around her, but her focus wavered as her phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out, answering with a quick, "Allo on." Trung's voice crackled through, urgent but steady. "You here yet?" Diep adjusted her hat, wiping a bead of sweat from her brow as she glanced at the bustling crowd. "I'm almost there, on. Heading to the spot you sent now." Trung's tone softened slightly. "Good. Come to the cafe I marked on the map. We need to talk. It's important." She nodded to herself, ending the call with a determined, "I'll be there soon." Turning back to her stall, she served one last customer, a young girl buying a single gourd for her mother, before packing up her remaining produce. She slung her bag over her shoulder, the weight of the day's earnings a comforting reminder of her hard work, and made her way through the market's maze of stalls, her sandals kicking up small clouds of dust on the dirt path. At the cafe, a quaint spot nestled under the shade of a sprawling banyan tree, Trung waited at a corner table, a cup of black coffee cooling beside a stack of crumpled papers and a worn notebook. The hum of cicadas filled the air, blending with the distant market noise as Diep approached, her steps quick and purposeful, the dust of the market still clinging to her clothes. "Chow on," she greeted, sliding into the chair across from him, her basket resting at her feet. Trung looked up, offering a faint smile. "You made it." Want a drink?" She shook her head, brushing a stray strand of hair from her face. "No, I'll head out after this. I wanted to thank you for your help with John's case last time. I brought some cash for you and your team. It's not much, but it's for the work you did." She slid a small envelope across the table, the edges slightly worn from her grip. Trung accepted it with a nod, his expression darkening as he tucked it into his bag. "Thanks, Diep. I appreciate it. But there's a problem. John's crew has been clashing with mine lately. Word is, he's already out of prison." Diep's eyes widened, a flicker of shock crossing her face as she leaned forward. "Already? How is that possible? With his charges, fraud, assault, he should have been locked up for at least 5 to 7 years. Trung nodded grimly, his fingers tightening around his coffee cup. Someone powerful pulled strings to get him out early. He's got a strong backer, and they're targeting my group now." Diep's brow furrowed, her voice tinged with frustration. "Do you know who's behind him?" Trung shook his head, his jaw clenched. "Not yet, but whoever it is, they've got influence, enough to bend the law in his favor. His crew's been stirring trouble, and I'm worried about what's next." Anger flashed in Diep's eyes, her hands balling into fists on the table. "Should I take him out, on? End this before it gets worse." Trung raised a hand, his tone firm but calm. "No, Diep, that's not the way. We need to find out who's backing him, cut the root, not just the weed. If we act rashly, we'll only make things worse." He paused, taking a sip of his coffee, his gaze distant. "He hasn't made a move yet, though. Part of me wonders if he's turned over a new leaf." Diep scoffed, her voice laced with skepticism. "Doubtful, on. I know John, he's cunning. If he's quiet, it's because he's plotting something big. He's been gathering his old crew, rallying them for a reason." Trung sighed, running a hand through his hair as he leaned back in his chair. "You're probably right. But there's more to this. John's got a personal grudge against me. He claims my dad stole his family's land years ago and forced his parents to flee abroad. When I asked my father about it, he was vague, evasive. I don't know what to believe." Diep's expression softened, her voice gentle but urgent. "That's a heavy accusation, on. You need to be careful. John's dangerous, and if he's got a vendetta, he won't stop." Trung nodded, tucking the envelope deeper into his bag. "I'll keep digging. For now, this money is your payment for the John case. But let's not rush into anything, wait for his next move. Then we'll adapt. I'll call you if anything changes." Diep stood, adjusting her bag with a determined nod. "Andai, Zhao An. Stay safe out there." As she turned to leave, a voice called out from a nearby stall. "Kowoi, how much for these gourds?" She glanced back, slipping back into her role as a vendor. But the weight of John's release and Trung's alliance lingered like a storm cloud on the horizon. Back at a quiet farmhouse nestled among emerald green fields, James' mother stepped onto the creaky wooden porch, her eyes lighting up with a mix of surprise and concern as she spotted Diep approaching with a basket of gourds. "Cô ơi, are you home?" Diep called, her voice carrying a blend of exhaustion and relief over the chirping of crickets. The elderly woman rushed out, her hands on her hips, her face etched with worry. "Why are you working again, Chow? I told you to rest after your illness. You're still recovering." Diep smiled weakly, setting the basket down on the porch steps with a soft thud. "I feel better, Ko. I sold gourds at the market today and earned some money. I want to give it to you as thanks for all you've done." The woman frowned, her tone firm but laced with affection. "Keep it, Chow. James manages the farm's finances and we're doing fine. You need that money for yourself." Diep insisted, holding out the small stack of bills, her eyes earnest. But I want to help, Co. You and James have been so kind to me. The woman softened, patting Diep's shoulder with a gentle hand. Then give it to James when he gets back. He's been out on business since early this morning, but he returned briefly to freshen up before heading out again. He should be home soon. Diep nodded, setting the money aside on a small table near the door. I brought some gourds home. They're perfect for making soup. The woman chuckled, her eyes crinkling with warmth. Stay for dinner then. James will drive you back to your place later. We'd love your company. As they stepped inside, the clatter of kitchen work began, pots and pans clinking as they prepared a meal together. The scent of boiling broth and fresh herbs filled the air, a comforting backdrop to the unspoken tensions that lingered in Diep's mind, the past and present weaving together in a delicate, uncertain dance. Twilight draped the farmhouse in a serene purple glow, the kitchen a warm haven filled with the rhythmic clatter of pots, the sizzle of vegetables in a pan, and the savory aroma of simmering gourd soup. James' mother, her sleeves rolled up, stirred a pot with practiced ease, the steam rising in gentle curls, while Diep stood nearby, carefully chopping fresh greens from the farm, spinach, cilantro, and a handful of basil, her knife moving with quiet precision. The glow of a single bulb overhead cast soft shadows across the room, the walls adorned with faded photographs of the family's past, a testament to years of hard work and love. A phone rang, its sharp tone cutting through the quiet hum of their work. Trung's voice came through, urgent and clipped. "Allo on, I sent him to the spot as planned." James' mother interjected, her tone firm as she wiped her hands on her apron. "Hold on. Let me call James and see what's happening." She dialed, her voice softening as she spoke. "Allo Con, why aren't you home yet? It's getting late, and dinner's almost ready." James' voice crackled back, tinged with frustration but warm with reassurance. "I'm meeting a friend, Mom. I got lost in some rough terrain, took a wrong turn into a dense forest area, but I'll be back soon. You and Diep eat if I'm delayed. I'm on my way." She smiled, her worry easing slightly. "We're waiting with dinner ready. Hurry back, Con, and be careful." Hanging up, she turned to Diep, her expression gentle. "Keep cooking, Chow. I'll freshen up and join you shortly. Need to wash off the day's dust." Diep nodded, her hands steady as she added the chopped greens to the soup, the kitchen a sanctuary amid the day's chaos, the scent of herbs and broth a comforting embrace. James arrived later, his clothes dusted with the grit of the road, his face etched with weariness but lighting up at the sight of his mother and Diep. "Chow me, Diep," he greeted, heading straight to the sink to wash his hands, the cool water splashing against his skin. "Sorry I'm late, traffic was a nightmare. And I took a wrong turn into some tricky back roads that led me into a forest. Took me a while to find my way out." His mother laughed softly, ushering him to the table with a wave of her hand. "Go eat, Con. We've been waiting, and the food's getting cold." They sat around a sturdy wooden table, the surface worn but polished with care, a steaming pot of gourd soup at the center, flanked by plates of stir-fried greens, sticky rice, and a small bowl of fish sauce with chili slices. Diep marveled at the spread, her voice soft with admiration. "Chow, your hands are so skilled at cooking." She blushed, ducking her head shyly. "Just simple dishes, Co. I'm not that good." The woman patted her shoulder warmly, her eyes crinkling with affection. "That's more than enough. You've done wonderfully. Stay tonight. Rest until you're fully recovered. You shouldn't be working yet, not with your health still fragile." Diep hesitated, glancing toward the door, her thoughts drifting to her responsibilities. "I just came to visit, Co. I have the farm animals to tend, my chickens and ducks need feeding, and there's work to finish at my place." The woman insisted, her voice gentle but firm, her hand resting lightly on Diep's arm. James already fed them on his way back. He stopped by your farm to take care of Hockey and the rest. Stay, James will drive you back tomorrow morning. It's lonely here alone, and your company lifts my spirits. Let's enjoy this meal together as a family. Diep relented, her heart warmed by the woman's kindness, and they joined hands for a soft prayer, giving thanks for the food and the moment of togetherness. The conversation flowed as they ate, the clink of chopsticks against bowls punctuating their words, the warmth of the meal drawing them closer. These veggies, are they from our farm? James asked, savoring a spoonful of the gourd soup, its subtle sweetness balanced by the tang of fish sauce. Diep nodded, a proud smile tugging at her lips. Yes, from the irrigation plots we've been tending. Fresh spinach and herbs picked this morning. His mother scolded gently, her tone laced with concern. You shouldn't work yet, Diep. Focus on eating to recover your strength. Your health comes first. James added, his voice thoughtful as he reached for a piece of sticky rice. I brought gourds back from the city a while ago after researching with local farmers. They grow so much better here than rice, higher yields, better profits. I've been experimenting with fruit varieties too, like watermelons, melons, and even pumpkins, to see what thrives best. Diep's eyes brightened, her passion for the farm evident. The farm's thriving on. Today I saw watermelons, melons, gourds, and even pumpkins ready for harvest. If I have time, I'll help pick more tomorrow. His mother beamed, her pride in her son evident. James has always loved nature. He studied agriculture abroad, spending years learning about sustainable farming, and when he returned to Vietnam, he wanted to experiment here. It's taken off beyond our expectations. The farm's become a cornerstone for us. The meal was a tapestry of flavors and shared dreams, a fleeting escape from the tensions brewing outside, each bite a reminder of the love and labor that tied them together. Later, as they cleared the plates, James shared a quiet update, his voice tinged with longing. Dad's been busy abroad lately. His work's keeping him tied up, and he hasn't had much time to visit. I spoke with him recently, and he hopes to come back soon, but it's hard with his schedule. His mother turned to Diep, her tone thoughtful, her eyes searching. I asked her to be your secretary, Con. What do you think? I believe she'd be a great help at the company. Diep fidgeted, her hands twisting in her lap, her voice hesitant. I'm not educated enough for business, Co. I only finished high school, and the demands of that kind of work, I'd struggle to keep up. The woman waved it off with a reassuring smile, her voice steady and encouraging. You'll learn with time, Chow. We'll guide you. James can teach you the ropes. Your past doesn't define you. Your heart does, and I see how much you care. Diep's eyes dropped, her voice trembling as she opened up, the weight of her confession heavy on her shoulders. I told you about my ex-husband, Co. His family mistreated me, called me worthless because I couldn't have children. He left me for another woman and I was cast out, left with nothing. It's been so hard to rebuild, to trust again. The room fell silent, the weight of her words settling over them like a heavy fog. The woman squeezed her hand tightly, her eyes glistening with empathy. I understand, Chow. I lost my father young, raised myself through struggle and hardship. I know that pain. James treats you well and I support you both. Don't let others' judgments hold you back. Your worth isn't tied to your past. Diep wiped a tear, her voice soft and grateful. Thank you, Co. But people might judge us. My history could hurt James, hurt your family. The woman nodded solemnly, her resolve unwavering. I'll talk to him, make sure he understands. Rest now, your health comes first. We'll figure this out together. As night deepened, the farmhouse grew quiet, the flicker of a candle the only light in the small guest room where Diep settled in. James knocked softly.
I told the story of my own husband's battle with cancer and chronic pain. As unquote, I'm used to asking people what they have learned from their experiences, so it was natural for me to ask her for advice on what happened her deal with the crushing grief. Obviously, she has been doing something right to be so full of vitality and joy after such a short time. She described it, her travels around the world with sparkling eyes, and her plans for the next year with a joyful smile. What a contrast to how I was. Phyllis had been so open with me. I felt encouraged her to ask her, did you ever feel like you were just waiting to die?